We're live. Just like that.
Oh my gosh, this is so funny. No time for recourse. Hey everyone, welcome, welcome, welcome. It is literally we're just jumping on here. Um, Hello to YouTube, right? We're on
Yeah,
YouTube,
we're on YouTube. Yep.
Spotify, or Apple, who will be listening to us later. We're excited about this topic because, as everybody knows, we are pretty much right around the corner from summer, right?
hmm
Like spring just arrived, and the next stop, obviously, is summer. And so today we're going to talk about summer body syndrome. And this is not an official term, guys. This is just a term that I made up here. So work with us here. And we're going to be talking about chasing vanity over walking in purpose. So today we're going to talk about this idea. And I don't know if anyone's ever been here, but I know that I have. And when I refer to this summer body syndrome, it's this idea of, I think it happens right around now, right around March, April, probably beginning of May, where people begin to panic because you realize, wait a minute, the body that I want for summer is not going to happen because I've missed the mark. I'm starting too late, and people are kind of shuffling and saying, "Oh my gosh, it's May. We're getting into May, and I'm not going to be ready." And it's this whole obsession with getting quote unquote ready for the summer body. And so we're going to kind of unpack that. I know I'm just going to share, like, I know that I've been there where it's like, yeah, I'm going to get ready for the summer. And, November, because they claim you're supposed to be doing all of this stuff in the winter.
Yeah.
Right. And so if you have this summer body syndrome, you are talking yourself through the winter, trying your best to say, yeah, I'm getting ready for the summer. And January hits, February hits, March, you get, the cool breeze starts to hit you a little bit, or the warm weather, and you're like, oh, I got to get ready. And most of us kind of feel that anxiety. And then by the time we get to the summer, it's just too late. And a lot of people feel, I didn't make it to the summer. I didn't look the way I wanted to look. And it's this, I like to call it this syndrome because it's this thing that happens every single year. And this idea of getting fit is revolved around the summer months. I want to go
Mhm.
into a bathing suit. I want to be able to wear sundresses. Like it's really attached around summer, and it's really attached around, and this is why we called it chasing vanity or walking in purpose. It's really based on a premise of vanity. And I'm not saying this to shame anyone or to do any guilt because we've been there. Trust me, it's not
Yeah.
about that, but we're hoping to challenge the mindset behind it. So
Yeah.
that's really how we want to frame it. And so, we're focused on bathing suits and sundresses and shorts and all of
Yeah.
these things. Um, and it just puts us in this loop where we miss the mark of truly just getting healthy, and all of those things maybe could be residual benefits, but not the core benefit. And we end up in this cycle over and over. So we're going to talk about that whole concept. How do we shift out of that mindset, especially as women, and move from chasing vanity into walking into purpose when it comes to our health? So that's the topic. I hope for those of you who are watching live, go ahead and chime in. Have you ever tried to do the mad dash to the summer, and found that you were too late and found yourself in this repetitive cycle? And do you want to break free from that? So I'll let you
Yeah.
talk, going on and on.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's to be expected because in the winter months, you're kind of hiding your body a lot. You're
That's
hiding
true.
your body in like sweaters, sweatshirts, hoodies, you know, like workout, like what do you call them? Sweatpants was the term I was looking for. And so
Yeah.
you're wearing like baggy, clothes that really cover your body. But as the temperatures rise and it literally is hot outside, you want to feel
Mm,
comfortable and you want to feel comfortable in your skin. So you want to feel comfortable in terms of the temperature, by wearing
right.
lighter clothes, but you also want to feel comfortable in your skin. And the moment that you walk out of the house in that tank top or the shorts, or you,
Mhm.
walk onto the beach in that bathing suit,
You
that's when
feel,
everything's out
yeah,
there. It's all out there.
yes,
You can't hide it.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
but it comes down to cultural pressure,
Mhm.
like somehow, somewhere in our history over the course of time, um, someone defined beauty in a certain way, and it has evolved over the years,
And it is,
but
yeah.
but there's this cultural pressure based on somebody's definition, like some
Mhm,
random person's definition.
mhm.
Like, I don't know
Yeah,
who the person was that said, in order to be attractive, you have to have, this kind of body and this
mhm.
size and this shape. And, but somebody did that. Somebody defined it.
Yeah,
It wasn't us. It wasn't God, right? God didn't
yeah,
define that.
yeah.
It was just some random person. So I think that pressure is what drives it, these external cultural worldly pressures that drive it.
Yeah, that's so true. And it's kind of pumped through the media, right? Like your television shows, social media, and so you feel
Social
like,
media has gotten so bad. Like,
yeah,
that's I
like
think.
back in the day it used to be Baywatch for us, if anything. Like, and I'm dating myself, like that would be the beach shows that might, like, kind of over
Yeah,
glorify that type of look. But now it's like you said, like
yeah,
your average Instagrammer, you can't avoid it, you can't run
yeah,
from it.
that's
It's
true.
there, everywhere you
Yeah,
turn. And so
yeah,
um,
because Baywatch was only on once a week, right?
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
And you choose to watch it.
yeah, you
Like
can't even,
here, it
like.
just comes up on your feed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, you turn on the news, you turn on your phone, it's just like boom, boom, boom in your face. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And so here, and really, it's a trap for us as women. I mean, even as men, it's a trap because really, it's not based on your vitality, like you said, how you feel. Like you said, you come out and you just don't, you feel heavy or you feel sluggish. It's really based on vanity.
Hmm.
What do I look like to someone on the outside, whether or not the inside has it together or not? It's this chasing of validation from external eyes. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And so you're really not chasing, or you're not looking for the vitality of your health. Like, maybe I move better when I'm lighter. Maybe, my blood pressure is lower when I'm light. Like, that's not the context. It's, I'm going to look better in this particular suit. I'm going to, and so forth. And so it leads us to, it leads us to these quick fixes and
Hmm.
these crash diets, because it's tempting to, 30 days before June, to say, okay, let me just try one of these crash diets so I can make it to the
Hmm.
finish line. Because I quote unquote didn't, consistently. So it doesn't really breed true healthy habits, but it breeds this idea that the quick fix. Because if I'm already late, then I could just do a 30-day cleanse, or I could just do, 15 days of juicing. You know what I mean? Like it kind of points us in that direction.
Hmm.
And then a lot of times it causes shame when we don't reach the deadline. Like a lot of
Yeah.
people are feeling shame, or they don't feel like, okay, I don't feel my best, and all of those things. So it's really a trap. So on the surface, even though we're laughing about it and it's funny, and summer body syndrome and all that, if you really peel back, as you say, Gigi, if you peel back the onion to its core, it's dangerous to our self-worth, it's dangerous to our self-esteem, it's dangerous to our self-image, and it's
Hmm.
really dangerous to our temple in terms of us getting healthy for our divine purpose and not chasing vanity. It's dangerous in all of those areas when we really get to the gist of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would even almost go so far as to say it's almost, I wonder if it's rooted in pride as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Talk about that. Yeah, that could
Yeah.
definitely be. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. So, you know, I think that when we think about getting healthy, getting fit, the summer body syndrome is, like you said, is very like surface. It's very like it's all about the vanity, not so much necessarily the health.
in the short
And in the
term.
short term, and I think,
Mhm.
you know, um, these short-term goals, when we're focused on that, we miss the opportunity to really look at it from a spiritual perspective in terms of getting healthy,
Mhm.
um, and why we want to be healthy,
Mhm.
not for the bathing suit, not for the tank top or the
Mhm.
summer dress, but
Mhm.
we want to be healthy, um, because God needs us to be healthy, right? I mean, that's really at the core of it. If we're really talking about sustainable, sustainable health, because if you're just going through this cycle of, you basically, this is how it looked for me for many years.
Mhm.
I would, go into the holidays, and
Mhm.
I would say it would start with pumpkin spice season,
Okay.
maybe, yeah,
Yeah.
like, like September, and
Kickoff.
then
That's the kickoff to the downhill of
that was the kickoff to the
oh,
degradation of
yeah,
my health,
exactly.
and my weight going up, and me
Yeah,
feeling like my clothes getting tighter and not feeling good in my body. It started with pumpkin spice season, and
yes.
then it went into Halloween, and then it went into Thanksgiving, and
Yeah,
then Christmas, and then New Year's, and then I would try to do my New Year's resolution. I
yeah.
would be okay for a couple weeks, then I'd fall off the wagon, then I'd try to stumble back on, and then I'd fall back off. I might have lost a little bit of the weight that I gained over the holidays, but then it wouldn't necessarily stay off because I would, just continue to, eat what I wanted to eat. And
Mm,
then, spring would roll around, and then I'd try to do a mad dash to get healthy again. Not get healthy, but lose weight, I should say,
yeah,
because I
yeah.
wasn't thinking about it back then. And so, yeah, and then it would just be this cycle. So, but it wasn't rooted in anything. It wasn't rooted in anything like strong and like sustainable. It was just very superficial and vanity. So these short-term goals will miss, our opportunity to tap in to more sustainable aspects of health, which are more spiritual in nature
Mhm.
than vanity.
Yeah. And then and then this kind of points to the mindset of um, elevating our image over our identity, right?
Mm,
Because what it's actually doing is it's working against us creating consistent long-term habits. Because, like you said, they're just short spurts of trying to meet this mark, and it's not really, it's more about image. It's not really who we are becoming. Like what habits identify me as a person? Am I a healthy person that eats healthy? Am I a person that exercises? It doesn't become our identity because it's just short-term little targets that we jump into and we jump out. So it never gets a chance to stick
right.
long term, where it builds a habit, it builds a new identity, it builds, we talk a lot, and Gigi does this a lot more than I do, but in the inner circle with some of the ladies that we work with, when they struggle with setbacks, one of the things Gigi always says to them is that you remember that you have a new identity. You are a cyclist. You are someone that works out. You are somebody that eats out. Because that, when you create that consistency long term, you are you are not trying to do something, but you are becoming the thing. And I think we miss out on that identity piece of our health when we
Mhm.
are so image focused and short term focused that we're only trying to get these little markers, and we're always chasing the next best thing. When if we are to lean into our health, really create some new long lasting habits, really change who we are at the core.
Right.
I am now a person that eats healthy. I couldn't
Mm,
always say that. I am
right.
now a person that works out every day. I couldn't always say that. You see what
Right.
I mean? Because when I was just trying to be the summer body syndrome, doing a 30-day this, a 30-day that, I never got to stick. I was just
Right.
becoming someone who was chasing the image of the thing. And I
Mhm.
never gave myself the opportunity to really transform. And I think that is what the difference is when we start seeing our body as the temple of God, is that we are now leaning into a new identity, and we
Mhm.
are now giving ourselves an opportunity to not chase diets,
Mhm.
but to actually transform our from the inside out.
Yeah. I mean, because here's the thing, God wants us healthy all year round. You know, He
Mm,
doesn't want us healthy just in January when everybody's doing the Daniel fast. God wants us healthy all year round and not
yeah,
just for
yeah,
summer body season.
yeah,
So, yeah, so it really is putting this, perspective on health that's more God centered,
right.
than some random person who said that these are beauty standards than what they came up with. I mean,
Mhm.
it really is putting God at the heart of your health and at the center of your health, and not just for the summer.
Yeah, because here's the residual for the summer body syndrome is that when we really, lose the weight, start eating right, exercising, you actually feel better. You actually
Hmm.
start thinking better. You
Hmm.
actually start, reducing your high blood pressure, maybe getting off medications. That's something that should be a winter syndrome, a fall syndrome, a summer
Yep.
syndrome. This is, like you said, Gigi, this is a lifestyle.
Hmm.
You know
Hmm.
what I mean? And it's so sad that the health industry has even kind of semi like promoted some of the sensationalism of it, of yeah, getting ready for the summer, getting on the beach and all that. Because really, it's never for a month, it's never for a bikini, it's really for an overall lifestyle that makes you
Yeah.
feel better and live better, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll say too that I think some of that is also marketing.
Because they're
When
marketing a product,
they're
probably.
marketing a
Yeah,
product, they're pushing a product that, hey,
yeah,
it's, get ready for the summer, buy this new whatever.
yeah, yeah.
Um, so yeah, it really has nothing to do with health, even though
Right,
it's in the health and wellness space.
right.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think it's, as Christians, it's something that we have to constantly talk about, to challenge ourselves to see our health from the health perspective as God's temple. It's something that I know we say it often, but we almost have to continue the conversation because it's so easy to forget.
Hmm.
It's so easy to slip right back into the diet culture mindset. Oh my gosh, I gotta lose 5 pounds or panic. Like, it's so easy to slip back over to the other side if
Hmm.
you are not constantly putting before you the purposes of God for your body. That God, this is your temple. God, I'm trying to be healthy so that I can live out whatever purposes you have for me, so I can have mental and spiritual clarity, so I can hear your voice more clearly.
Hmm.
You have to constantly talk to yourself about this. It's because if you put it to the side, it is so easy because of the culture that we live in. Like I said, you're saying TV, social media, that you could slip back into the diet culture in a heartbeat
Hmm.
if we are not constantly like refreshing that concept.
Yeah. So we should look at a couple scriptures, don't you
Yeah.
think, Cersei?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we
All
could look,
right, let's
and these are
pull.
the scriptures that you have to constantly remind yourself and reread over and over. And you might say, "Oh, man, you guys bring this scripture up every time." Yeah, we bring it up every time because it never gets old. And I think meditating on these scriptures constantly is
Mhm.
how we stay the course.
Right.
Right? And so 1 Corinthians 6:19 to 20 says, "Do you not know that your bodies are the temples of the Holy Spirit, who is in you, whom you have received from God? You are not your own. You were bought with a price. Therefore honor God with your bodies." I mean, let's lean into this idea that you are not your own. You are bought with a
Mm.
price, because we've read it from many different angles. But we live in a culture where, what do you mean? Like, I own everything. You know what I'm saying? This is my
Yeah.
body, my house, my car, my this. But we were bought with a price, you know? Um, yeah. And when you really think about that, it's like we are indebted to serve God with our bodies,
Right.
that we owe him this as our least amount of service for what he's done. And
Hmm.
when you think about it in the bigger, broader perspective, it really just it really takes the frivolousness out of things, the way that we could just be like, it's nothing, it's no big deal. But Jesus used his body to die for us, and he's asking us for you to use our bodies to live for him.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean? And so when you think of that imagery, it's sobering. Um, and that's why I think that we have to constantly go back to scriptures like that and really meditate on it, because it helps to kind of shake you up and bring you back to reality, when you kind of fall off a little bit.
Yep. Yeah. Excellent. Yeah. Let's look at another one here, Cersei.
Mhm.
Bring this one up here. Romans 12:1. Therefore, I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship.
Yeah,
Mm,
that's good too.
yeah.
It's a living sacrifice. He didn't
Yeah.
ask us to die on the cross. He didn't ask us to, it's a living sacrifice because, being healthy is an act of worship. It is
Mm,
saying, God, I am choosing um, to do this holy act of eating something that's going to serve me. I'm choosing to move my body in a way that will make it stronger. You know what I mean? Um, for your glory. This is
yeah.
your true and proper worship. It's a form of worship.
Yep. Yep. And the other thing too is like the scripture right after this, Romans 2:12 is, and do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And so it's so relevant.
Hand in hand. If you got to renew your mind to get this concept, put it
Yeah.
that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got to renew your mind to get this concept, because without that, you are going to constantly be conforming into the world standard of beauty.
Yeah.
Constantly.
Yeah.
And so when they say skinny is in, and I'm just throwing these stuff out because I know that in my lifetime, we have gone, if you were to conform to the world standard, it was like this.
Yeah.
It's this, then it's that, then it's thick fix, then it's this. You know what I mean? Constant moving the carrot
Yeah.
that many of us do not even have control over what our body type is in of itself.
Yeah.
And yet the standard is telling us to look like somebody who is actually made that way. And so it's a constant, it's
Yeah.
a constant
It's
crazy.
so it's just so random though. It's yeah, there's
I have no
okay.
idea how they come up with it.
I
All
don't
of
either.
us
I don't
go
either.
celebrities, or I don't know. But
Let's look at here's another one, Cersei.
First Timothy 4 verse 8 says, "For physical training is of some value, but godliness has value for all things, holding promise for both the present life and the life to come." Because at the end of the day, we have to start seeing our health more than just what we eat,
Hmm.
but who we are becoming, and see it almost as a holy act.
Hmm.
But I think when you think about eating and you think about exercising, it just honestly it seems so mundane that we miss the sacred in the everyday.
Hmm.
That's really what it is. That we miss the sacred in the everyday, but there is so much sacred in our routines of life, our everyday life, our getting up, our going to bed, our eating. There is so much sacred in that if we are willing to embrace it. I think and I think this is where, we're such in a rush. We're so consumed by external distractions that we so often miss the sacred in the things that are before us. Like
Hmm.
eating a healthy meal that you know that is going to nourish your body. To me, that is a sacred act.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. So I think it's really about shifting our focus away from chasing pretty
yeah.
and trying to live up to some random person's beauty standards.
Mhm.
um, and really looking at living a lifestyle of wellness that supports our calling. It supports what we've been put on this earth to do,
Mhm.
um, and supporting our family, supporting our faith. It's
Mhm.
really around that lifestyle of wellness, not
Mhm.
this seasonal fitting into the bikini um,
Yeah, yeah,
scenario. Yeah.
yeah. And I
And
think
it,
it. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say it's hard though. I mean, it's when it what we're saying is easy in concept, but it's a mindset set
Shift.
shift.
Yeah. Hmm.
And you really have to, it's like, if you're a right-handed person, it's like taking a pen and trying to write with your left hand.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
very awkward. It feels weird because you've been basically living your life in this matrix of this is beauty and this is what I need to become. And then you basically break that down, you tear it down and have it become more God-centered, where your lifestyle is truly about wellness,
Hmm.
and that wellness is in support of the calling that God's put on you, whether you have a ministry, whether you're a mother with so many children, you're a lawyer, whatever your calling is, whatever God put you on this earth to do, that's what your health is really centered around.
And I think, as Christian women, that we have to start raising the standard. We
Yeah.
have to start raising the standard. We have to start setting ourselves apart and creating a new culture of what healthy looks like for us.
Hmm.
you know and we have to start bringing a new mindset around health into the church. And it starts with one person and it's like a popcorn effect, and people just it just starts spreading. We need to like start changing the language, like I know you mentioned. Like purpose is the new pretty in the church. That's how I see it. Being strong is the new sexy. Like we have to start giving ourselves new language
Hmm.
for what God wants for our temple,
That's right.
and start empowering ourselves, the younger women before us, the older women ahead of us, whatever the case may be, and support each other in that we want to age well. We
Hmm.
want to go into all the seasons of life that women go through, because we go through a lot of seasons, or from puberty to middle age to menopause. We want to be strong and purpose driven in all of those seasons of our lives. And many of us are struggling with high blood pressure and obesity and diabetes. And so when you add those shifting of seasons in our lives, it just compounds everything, because we
Hmm.
never had a grasp on our health to begin with. And so now we enter into menopause and the whole roof is blown off the top. But you know what I'm saying, of our lives, but we
Yeah.
never had control in the first place.
Right.
Know what I'm saying? And so I think that God is calling us to say, listen, wherever you are, whatever phase you are, let's start getting off of these medications, lowering our blood pressure, losing the weight, start eat and doing. And when I say doing these things, let me more just start saying the habits that will result in those things. We need to start eating more fruits and vegetables. We need to start eating more whole grains. We need to start taking out the processed junk food and going through drive-throughs and all of the dairies and the meat that is actually destroying our body. We need to start moving towards whole plant foods,
Hmm.
drinking more water, getting out the sodas, moving our bodies every single day, getting adequate rest. I mean, we could go on and on and on, but this is what gives you us the results. We have to start leaning into those behaviors and supporting each other and giving ourselves a new language around what is beauty in the church community. Beauty is being able to worship God with your body. And I know it sounds so pie in the sky, but that's really what it is. And then the residuals happen. The
Yep.
residuals happen. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And, for those who are listening, I want to offer just some encouragement here, because if you feel like, oh, I've missed the deadline for the summer body, you're not behind. You're right on time with God. Because if you're shifting your focus away from that
Mhm.
vanity, viewpoint to one of more healthy living viewpoint as a lifestyle, you're right on time. So don't feel like, you've missed out, because, you might have started the year well and then you went off track. Just get back on track and just take one day at a time in adopting these healthy habit tips that we're giving you.
Yeah, I love that.
Because
I love that.
they will pay off these small incremental changes that you're making. You're going to look back, and you're going to realize that, you know, when I started this, yes, I changed my breakfast. I was eating that sausage biscuit from the gas station every day, and I changed that to a green smoothie every day. You're going
Yeah,
to see the benefits of that, you know, the longer you stick with it.
yeah,
It doesn't have to be a green smoothie; it could be oatmeal or whatever healthy breakfast you're eating, and it adds up, you know, and it gives you that muscle memory to continue and to extend it into other meals throughout the day.
yeah. And that's what the good part is. I love that you said that. Is that if you get out of the summer body syndrome, every day is going to be the right time
Yeah,
to get started. You know
yeah,
what I mean? There is no deadline other than your own personal get started deadline. And
right.
so I love that,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. And
Um,
I do want to say one more thing before you know, Mary Bogan said something really a while ago when she was giving her testimony about our Healthy Christian Woman boot camp. She said, you know, it's when you feel like you've got time, you
mm,
know, you have to be careful with that because you can't get the time back.
that's
So
it.
if you're kicking the can down the road and say, well, I'll start in January or I'll
Mm,
start in this time, you know, pushing it out for that gap between when you know, when you're hearing this to when you actually start, you
mhm.
won't get that time back. So to just add a little sense of urgency,
Yeah,
um,
yeah. The
just
time
remember
is
that.
today. Yeah,
Yeah,
the time is now, basically. So
yeah,
there is that urgency, like you said, but it's not to meet a conform standard of deadline, but it's to get started so that you can begin this journey,
yeah.
right? Um, yeah. Yeah, I have this quote here that says, "Health doesn't have a deadline, it has a divine design." I like that. It
That's
has a
nice.
divine design because at the end of the day, it's your specific journey that you are going to take. So it's not about a deadline, but it's about how are you going to walk this out the way God is walking with you. And so it's more personalized. It's just more empowering, right? Because I think when you talk about, we and part of the deadline mindset is when we are fixated on 30, 90, 120. When we have dates that we have fixated in our mind on when we're going to lose the weight, when we're going to get off these meds, we become a slave to the timeline and not a participant in the journey.
Mm,
You know what I mean? And so to free yourself from the guilt and the constant obsession is to lean more into the journey and let God hold the deadlines.
mm,
And you just walk the journey. The
mhm,
deadlines belong to God, but what belongs to you is doing your part. And if we
mhm.
release our deadlines to God, like, Lord, if it takes me 6 months to lose the weight, if it takes me, you know, 12 months, 30, whatever the case may be, you release the deadline to God, but you do your part on what it takes so that you are committed to the habit, no
Mhm,
matter how long it takes. Some of us,
mhm.
the reason why we fall off the wagon is because we really only signed up for 90 days in our mind and in our
Right,
soul. Had
right.
a deadline that, like, if we don't see nothing, then you start getting discouraged and then you start feeling like it's not working and then you start beating yourself up and then you start reminiscing on, well, maybe I should go back. That's because you were so married to a deadline around health. And that's part of the summer body syndrome, where we're fixated on dates, numbers, all of that, when it's a trap, because it sets us up for failure. Because if it doesn't look exactly the way that we think it's going to look after the 30 days, 60 days, then we start feeling discouraged.
Yeah, yeah. So I think the key takeaways from all of this are don't chase some seasonal bodies, whether it's
Mhm.
summer body or whatever. Don't chase
Or
it. And
vacation body or wedding
vacation,
body. There's
wedding
a lot of
body,
different titles.
class reunion body. You know, there's
Yeah,
yeah. No, instead cultivate a year-round temple. So
that's
that
it.
I think is one of the takeaways.
That's definitely, and and choose consistency over trying to meet these artificial deadlines. Just
Mhm.
choose consistency. Choose doing the next right thing every single day, and building those habits, because um, the truth is, when we honor God with our health, it's going to require the strength. It's going to require stewardship. It's going to require repetition. It's going to require us giving of ourselves on a consistent everyday basis to see the fruit.
Mhm.
And I think there's no way to dance around that concept, is that we have to be willing to stay the course to see the fruit in our health. So
Mhm.
many of us jump ship too early,
Mhm.
um, or we see the benefits and then we jump ship and then we revert back. But there's something about just staying the course, doing the next right thing every single day, and allowing the fruit to speak for itself. I think
Yeah.
there's something powerful about that.
Yeah, it's an act of faith each and every time. It's that discipline, and you've said it before that what we eat, how we move our body is a spiritual
Mm,
practice, and wellness is worship.
that's
It
it.
is worship.
That's it. Because at the end of the day, looking good and all of that is a bonus, but we have to make sure that we have the foundation, you know, laid, which
Right.
is being healthy, so that we are strong and we are available for God to use us in every aspect of our lives.
Yep.
You know what I mean? That we are able to show up the best version of ourselves in our families, on our jobs, at our church, for people that we're going to interact with, on the purposes that we have. Just show up as our best self, but that's going to take um, us being healthy in all aspects to do that.
Yeah. So I think we can close out, Cersei. I think that one thing I do want to invite listeners to is our free weight loss masterclass, which the link is included in the description of wherever you're watching or listening to this.
Mhm.
It basically, spoiler alert, weaves in a lot of what we're talking about here,
Yeah.
in terms of inviting God into your health journey, looking at your health more as a spiritual practice.
Mhm.
And, we use the Daniel fast as a jumping off point to a long term, sustainable, healthy life. We have combined the power of whole plant foods
Mhm.
with biblical teachings. Cersei and I have been eating this way for 13, 14 years now. So it's not like something we just adopted a couple months ago or last year. We've been living this way, and we can say that it has helped us reverse our chronic diseases, helped us lose weight, get healthy for God's glory. And that's what we're doing now, trying to coach other people on this path. If it interests you, if you think it can help you, definitely sign up for the masterclass.
Yeah, and if you feel that this episode blessed you, please go ahead and share it. Follow us on social media, Healthy for My Purpose. Yeah, we are just excited about what is on the other side if you would just take that leap of faith.
Yeah.
Oh, we have some comments.
Yeah.
Wellness is worship. Thank you so much for this biblical encouragement to health. Thank you, Charity. Yeah, that's really it in a nutshell, Um, and it hasn't always been this way for us, like Gigi said. It was something that we had to surrender to, that we had to allow God to work with us from the inside out, and change our mindset around this. And so if you're listening to this and you're like, oh my goodness, I don't know, just take the next step. Just change what you're eating, jump into the weight loss masterclass. Listen to more of some of the videos that we have a lot of episodes that kind of walk you through different phases of how you can embark on this journey. And so, yeah.
Yep. All right. Until next time. See you later.
All right, bye bye.